E3 2022.
Time in, baby.
It's time in Friday, and it's really, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do in not a lot of time. There's a lot of irons in the fire in a lot of different places.
So much happens on Friday. It's like just and all at the same time. Like whenever you're talking to anyone and they're like, "Oh yeah, we should totally meet and like do this thing," and you're like, "Oh yeah, sure." Like what time is that? Oh, 7? No, that's this.
Yes.
No, 8? No, that's this. 9? No, that's this. It's like it's a nightmare.
So basically, there's a little bit of time before standing, which is like National Assembly, basically. And in that little bit of time, we have to activate a whole bunch of things. We have to have a quick IC chat about what Caro's whole thing is, trying to be general. We have to sort out, again, a quick IC chat as a group with all the RP that's necessary to talk about what we're going to do about Cadogan's plan to fund the box. And massively, like, one of our players, Good Dave, had left our striding and had essentially left the Entwined Paths, and that had basically made a situation where we need to think about who was going to fill the role for this coming event, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a big role to like lead the military group.
And we're big now as well.
We're big, but and again, it's like a lot of responsibility to put on someone to essentially have a part in the enjoyment of an event for all those other players.
Here's a military block full of players that might die under your command.
Yeah. It's a big responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So it needed to be done. And I decided I'd actually sent a letter to Caddock, who is played by John, who is the story. Like Caddock is phenomenal, but like I literally sent a message to him being like, we need to pick someone, right? And I basically wanted to propose at the very beginning of standing of game, basically just announcing that we're going to have a quick vote or a quick kind of decision made IC about this thing, and that I was going to suggest that Wynn did it, who is played by Paige and is just a phenomenal character and who did really, really well.
Paige is a massive girl boss and a good friend of ours, and she's like legit, right? Like we like Paige a lot, and to see the way that she's approached the game has been a real pleasure, right?
Just a natural, right? And then it was like making the decision to do that. We'd also sort of talked about how my and Bungle's roles had changed in our group over time. My game, in a weird way, had become very military-based, rather than what originally it was, which was much more the kind of political side. But it's kind of shifted now. And his game has naturally, through engaging in some ways with your game and exploring a lot of that, I think, had become a lot more...
Civic,
right?
Yeah.
And also, he's always been, for Talus as well, Keys has always been, like, the confider character.
Oh, no, I've just realised, have I stolen Keys from you?
No, in a weird way, you helped me reveal who Keys was and allow him, I think, to grow into the game, which I think Keys has found.
That's really exciting for Bung to take on.
Yeah, I was so chuffed about the idea, because I suggested it to Bung, like, what if you took my position and I took, within our group, like the military position, essentially, because we have like a dual leadership sort of thing in the Ashbourne. And just, so I decided as part of this process, I would also announce that I was standing down from the council and that Keys would be taking my place. And this is at a really important time for the group as well. So it was like a big ask on Bung to sort of step up and sort of take a council position in our group, right? And he just smashed it all event. But yeah, that's like, we have to do all of that. Then go to standing.
Hold on, before we even go to standing, I've got my little crew now.
Oh my god!
Which is like, basically, if you are going for a position that has like a hat at Empire, there's a whole bunch of different positions you take on. I'm an ambassador, which means like I have to run around and do ambassadorial stuff. But basically, I was like a rabbit caught in the headlights last event.
Yeah.
And I needed to have like people around me that I could trust, that were really informed. And this is one thing we did a lot this time.
You had started, maybe not even with your direct immediate decision to do so, you had started like last session gathering together really good quality people to put in good positions.
Last time last time I had Win and I had Keys. Basically, Keys was my security and Win was basically my adjutant, okay, and bodyguard, right? Because of the threat under my life. Weirdly, the threat to my life caused things that I needed to have people around me, which meant that these people were all had the same information I did going into this event.
Yeah.
So basically, create a little group for us, and then basically I wrote like a report on people that we know, our relationship with them, whether I sent them IC mail or not, whether they responded or not, and a whole bunch of stuff to do with, like, I never thought I would be the guy that has lists.
I have been so blown away by your organizational part of the game. I think actually really, like, when we time in, like, immediately after we've done the whole vote for essentially Win to be the military person for the season, you sat down with all of your people and hammered out, like, a real quick, we've already, like, battle plan, essentially.
Yeah.
Talking to all of your people. You've got people who help you with how to word stuff. You've got people to help you with how to sort of, like, where you should go logistically. People to help you with your security.
We'll get into some of how awesome my team is. But they basically we've had Agni join the team, who's played by Millie. Big fan of Millie. But like the three of those guys come together and like really helping me out has been like amazing. Anyway, yeah, that was a big part of like before, like as we're coming this time in, was basically like part of this. Like they're already pretty brief, but just setting it all up and setting a course of action.
Isn't it interesting though that the size, like your role, the size of the hat, it means that like you have to, if you want to be effective, you have to have people that you bring to help you.
Yeah, but they also,
it's so big.
Like, for me, I think it's also like, if anyone's going to work with me, I need them to be as informed as I am.
Yes.
So if they are out in the world and they're having conversations with people, and people give them like a low ball, not even a low ball, but like just an argument as a dismissal, I want them to be able to be like, no, this is kind of where we're at. This is the stuff that we're doing. Like, be pretty informed on what's going on, right? And I'm absolutely blessed that that's how these things actually came out on the field. So I also spoke briefly to the Cardinal of Vigilance, who's part of the Embercast. It's really nice RPing with this guy. Like, my interest in the religious game has like expanded hugely. It's always been in the back of my mind. I've always liked it. Like, Ifam was a bit of a zealot when it came to some of the way, but like Gellet is like having this very interesting relationship with the way. Obviously, I just recorded a giant, like, really interesting like interview with people on the way, but it was like I started to view it in like a whole different way when I'm coming to Empire now. Like there's like, the way should be a way of guiding your character onto action, right? And it's like, well, Gellet's dealing with some pretty big, heavy stuff in the world, right? And I want to be doing the virtuous acts, right? Like, and
put it this way, there's a reason why PD have designed the game that peace is a false virtue, right? Like, but there's all these other ambitions that are, you know, in some way adjacent words.
False virtues are really interesting. Like,
because what it does is it highlights that actually all of the virtues are essentially go buttons. They're go buttons.
Purity, hate, peace, like all of these are like really interesting. But but we're talking about our way in 7 virtues that we have, and it's been really fun interacting with people that play the religious game pretty heavily, because they're so interesting to talk about, especially when you're like, you come to them and you're like, here's what I'm doing. Here is the situation as best as I know it. What do you think? Right? Like,
deciding,
what do you think, Cardinal, about what's happening? And then just to be like, you know, and then to just talk it out with someone and be like, okay, cool, right, okay, we have a pretty good understanding here, and then move on from there. But like, Gellet's seeking spiritual guidance and things has been like a really fucking fun part of this game. So it's been cool. Vigilance, and I've been like, how much have I shit on Vigilance over the years, Ian? Like, Vigilance has always been one of my, you know, real, like, I like to take the mick out of Vigilance. Like, oh, you're being vigilant, are you? Do you know what I mean? But now I'm like, love Vigilance, love what it stands for, love all of this stuff. It's
a really, like, the actual word choice of the different components of the way is
Can you imagine like Andy Raff and Matt P just smashing their heads against the brick wall, and other people probably, but like trying to come up with the 7?
The 7 virtues.
I would not want that responsibility at all.
Because if you a very so slightly different word changes actually things a lot.
Well, are we going to, like, at some point, are we going to have, like, an 8th virtue of understanding or something like this,
who knows?
right?
Bonker
like,
stuff.
I mean, who knows? Anyway. Don't ignore us, we're idiots. Don't take anything we say seriously. Standing. I received a bunch of letters from different people over this time, by the way. From when we're talking about standing, through Fawns Council...
Yeah.
I'm receiving letters, I'm talking to people, all this stuff, okay? Like, there are meetings around meetings around meetings. It's like, it's a lot. But let's talk about standing.
Standing, there was, like, also, beyond our own games that had got, like, your game is a national game. My game is like a very character sort of led game. But between all of that, the national game, in the background, the actual plot of the national game has got crazy.
Oh my god!
Right, some really massive things. Some really massive things have happened that have been led by the big body of Navarri, right, and or influencing parties.
What? I just saw that spicy is written down on the piece of paper here, Ian. Spicy is the word that we're using.
So we'll start though with the softer kind of appetizer, which is that there's a vote in a region called Seren, which is a Navarri region, to basically have a sort of a grand structure as the way of thinking about it. You're like a wonder in civilization or something.
I love this. I love this, by the way, as part of the game, especially when you talk to a map maker and they're like, I can see on the map like where my thing has been built on the map, and then like you read the fluff about it, and you're like this giant whatever the fuck. So
this one was basically an idea of turning the city of Seren, which I can't remember the name of. It might even just be Seren. Is able to have like a quality added to it essentially, and each of these things was like a different concept that the city would follow, which was like a really interesting like cultural RP level of the game. And there's the whole like what's the actual practical use of each of these things, because they each provide a different boon. So you had like the city of dreams, and they had the city of leaves and the city of flowers, and the city of dreams basically offered all this stuff to like the priests, so they could go and have visions and things, and the city of leaves was like we'd get crap loads of herbs and like alchemy would be.
Okay, straight up, this was a blind spot for me coming in. So when I went to get my player pack, I was like, what the fuck is this? And it's just like a little piece of paper that says like 1 vote or whatever, and like I was like, what the hell? That's weird. Oh, I want to talk about something real briefly that I didn't write down. I went to get my player pack, and there was a whole caboodle about messages. So I get my player pack, okay, and it's got all my resources on it. And at the bottom it has like arcane message, and it has a number next to it, and another number, and then like arcane message. It's got these 2 arcane messages, okay? I'm like, oh my god, someone's responded to something I've sent, okay?
Right.
No, it turned out that there'd been some sort of clerical error on the side of PD, and they'd printed the thing on loads of people's packs.
Oh no.
So like, and it caused this like, so the line to go and get your player packs just disappeared. They were so efficient. But because of the extra backlog of all these people coming in and asking, general inquiries are saints. Okay? Like all the volunteers are great, but like the people that I spoke to that worked on that general inquiries desk was so nice. They were so positive and upbeat and helpful, and just like I was having a terrible time, and I was only in there for a certain amount of time, right? Like, and it's like they are working their butts off. Like, it was
the crew are incredible. Like the work that everybody does in God is just top. Like the people skills. Are just off the charts. So good.
If the specific person that is listening, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, whatever. But like, they were top form class. I received a whole bunch of letters during this from, oh man, like there were letters delivered to, you know, the guy that was in love with the Dornish lady, and then she died. Like she like dropped by some icy mail, which was like for him from her, but she'd died, but then she'd written them before she died. And it was all like twisting the knife in stuff, and it was just like, oh my god, like savage, like really cool though. I got a letter from my Watcher friend, and they they were worried about their lives and had given me like a kind of like, it was one of those letters which was like, I'm writing to you as a friend. I need your help. I may not be around for long, but there's something I need you to take care of for me. You know, that sort of line, right? And I'm like, I got you, homie. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't you worry about a thing. Like, that's taken care of. But yeah, pretty cool. Right, let's get into... We're going to talk about the spice. Let's get the spice.
Okay, let's get into the spice. So the spice was like another massive national thing that happened, which is basically a whole group of our military units had basically been rallied together and sent into a region on this idea that they were going to fight this massive battle to essentially secure this objective in this region, essentially. And it turned out that some players had communicated with the potentially enemy force that was in that region and told them that we were coming and try and basically broker a peace, like a kind of a neutrality.
It's crazy.
It was so spicy.
Sending before, like, military units are on their way, but before that, you send a message to the people that we're sending military units to let them know that we're coming. What the... Oh my god! I know. Do you bounce around on those balls like to get around as transportation? Like, it is outrageous.
But then what I love as the spice level is, it worked.
It worked. It worked beyond like
an absolute success.
Massive success.
An absolute success.
Deeply
basically.
Questionable. Like, but I
it was one of those like ends justifying the means.
Yeah, and... but I hear that they were like, yeah, it was a gamble, but like a gamble we were pretty sure we were going to win, right?
Yeah.
But even so,
I know that's how crazy it was.
Even so, and I know the people involved, and I like those people, and I like their characters. Like Gellert likes their characters. Yes. And it, even for me, was like, hit me by the broadside. I was like...
I was not prepared when Travid got called forward. I actually knew, like, it was going to be the case. Like, I knew. It was so bad, I knew.
Jesus.
And then...
I thought they were just going to fucking do him right there and then. Like, it had that vibe, right? Like a lynch mob.
I'm telling you, the whole circle was just alight. Literally arguments in the nation on both sides.
You know when people just start... like dudes like fucking traitor, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Like there's a real, and
there's other people saying he's not a traitor, he's a hero.
And it's like, oh my god, I'm like, like blood has to be spilled.
And then
right?
What was amazing was Brenos just called out,
Brenos, motherfucker,
and then Jesus, like imagine. Like, it makes me emotional thinking about it because it's so fucking awesome.
Brenos is a general, by the way.
Yes. And a huge, like... what Brenos' character is literally, like, stoic motherfucker. Yeah. Right? Like, laconic as shit. Right? And he's, like... he just calls out and calls for silence and basically is, like, to the whole nation, like, we're not going to argue about it here. They're going to do it at Thorne's Council. Let's get on with business.
Absolutely. It stands
everyone was silent.
Yeah.
Everyone was silent. And the thing was... they were silent as soon as he called out and he walked around the circle before he started speaking because he's so fucking badass that everyone will listen to him. What a fucking G. It was so crazy. I was like, that is some proper game. Yeah. Like, that is like a person who's like really, really done, like won the game. Like, absolutely incredible. I love Brenos as a character. I love the player as well. But it's just like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was crazy. So hats off. Standing kept going on, and I was bouncing off that. I was so astounded by like the quality of the game from the whole nation, and the culmination of it was so fucking good.
It must have been a lot for a new player rocking.
Dude,
that,
a lot. That like, and there are some negative sides to this, which we're going to get to later.
I think also I'm going to go out on a limb and say like Standing and Thorne's Council was the most intense RP I've ever seen at both of those events. Like 100%. It was crazy intense throughout all of this, and we're talking about like us as not being, I was about to say veteran players, like but like we've been going for a while, and like I ain't ever seen that shit like that before. Never seen the real threat of violence between Navarri and a public like wow, like
it was proper good.
Wow.
And then what was crazy was we went from that into suddenly realizing that Standing was going to continue, and we had to announce that the fashion show was on.
How far behind this happening, did you announce?
I think we might have been the second or first group out.
That's a tough person to follow. Like
following on from like Brennan silencing the crowd.
Hey, here's something completely different. How about a Navarri fashion show? And like, yeah,
I can't remember if we were first. We were first or second or something like that. But it was just great fun, like to really go out and I'd reached that point with my game where I was really like, I just had to embrace the fact that like my game was performance led and I just had to perform, right? And which was like, which took a lot for me mentally to get there, like as a person. So it was just like, stepping out into the standing circle this time,
dude,
doing that, I was like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like
it gets easier, okay? Like you see what I'm saying? Like I think I come across as someone that's really comfortable with public speaking, okay? Like people mention it to me, like, "Oh wow, you're so comfortable with public speaking." No, man, there's still little Dave inside me going, "Oh my god, fuck, that's a lot of people.
Yeah,
don't fuck it up. But I'm like, over time, you develop skills, right? Where you're like, no, like, especially in Empire with your nation at standing, you're like, no, these are my people. You know what I mean? Like, they're my people. Oh. You know, like, just get out there. They're going to welcome whatever you have to say. Get it done. Enjoy yourself.
Yes.
Enjoy yourself. You know.
So, Demesma came out. I'm sorry if I mess up any names, by the way. I'm terrible at names. But came out and basically announced that we were going to do the fashion show and introduced me that I was going to be her co-host. And it was like... so my part was like... It was already kind of established that I was like the colour commentator, I suppose. I don't know if that's even the right term, but like the kind of the
I don't know.
Like the jester, I suppose, of the duo.
I don't know.
Right?
I'm trying to think of a like for like, and I can't think of any without being in very troubling territory if I do, so I'm just going to leave it. But yeah, Ian, you bought the fucking heat, buddy. Holy shit. Like,
it was awesome to do, and again, this links into the whole fashion show, which we'll get to, but massive thanks to Hazel, just Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, after that, though, I had totally forgotten that, like, there's the Navarri announcement at standing as well.
So you'd come out on the fashion show, and we're all like...
Yeah, that was done, which I was really worried about.
And like, you had your, like, adrenaline dump straight off the back, yes. And then you're like, oh, by the way... you probably should talk about the Navarchers. And
yes.
Like, I can imagine that's hard. Like
the tonal shift, I was just like,
that's hard. Like that's because usually you get to kind of prep for that moment.
Yeah.
To be hoisted back into the fray again must have been a lot, right?
Yeah, and like there's a thing. What I'm trying to do with Tallis, which is kind of hard. I'm kind of challenged by it, but I think it works. Hopefully, is that like Tallis plays like. He works really fucking hard, but he also plays really fucking hard. Like, when he's at Anvil, he's, like, having a really good time.
I mean...
like...
work hard.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying.
I mean, probably need to work on that aspect a little bit. But don't worry, you got the play hard down.
Yeah.
You got that down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man, it was so funny to then step out and try and be like, oh, no, like, Tallis is actually... like pretty serious.
I'm a very serious military survivor.
By the way,
I'm a captain, so I'm kind of a big deal around here.
But anyway,
did I catch you saying something similar to that at some point this weekend?
What?
Didn't you say?
No.
What did you say this weekend? Oh, what did you say this weekend?
You're making me sound awful. I don't think I said anything like that.
No, I was paraphrasing you, but I think it could have been... If you,
that's a terrible paraphrase.
If you put the sentence for like a thesaurus, it could come out not thesaurus.
Well, that's a shitty thesaurus, because that's not at all what I was.
Well, either way, you are kind of a big deal around here nowadays.
Fuck.
Let's talk about Fawns Council, because, oh my god. So standing is in the main, like, in the woods.
Yeah.
It's around the kind of like the ball of fire that we have in the middle, right? And
then afterwards we basically disperse into other groups.
Yeah, by the way, loads of new players, again, really, really cool. Navarre's getting enormous, by the
Huge.
way. Like to the point where our actual little circle is like it's too small for how many people we have. It's crazy. But we should keep doing it. I'm not saying we shouldn't. But the Fawns then march out to have Fawns Council outside on the field bit near the road.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there are... gee whiz, there's a lot of Fawns
There's
nowadays,
a lot of Fawns.
I don't know how many were fawns, because I'm not a fawn and I was there to watch, but I think the vast majority of people there were fawns, right?
It ultimately was just such a massive moment for the nation that, like, if you were a Thorn, you had to be there. You had to be there, right? Basically, it was so cool.
It was such heavy RP for everyone involved on a giant public stage.
Yes.
I can only imagine what that must have felt like. It was extremely full on, and a lot of these people that we're talking about that are kind of arguing with having big fights know each other really well and are actually quite close friends, but like this is a lot, right? Like it was a pressure cooker. It was man, like, if you know what, I haven't even thought about it, but I hope everyone involved is fine. Basically, like, to be fair, I checked in on most of the people involved and just touched base. Just even as, like, I don't know how appropriate it is for everyone just to run up to someone afterwards and be like, "Hey, you good?" But like, I did my little, you know,
you have a certain relationship with certain people. You can approach them in certain ways.
Just
and it's
just to let them know, like, man.
But
like,
also, just the RP was just insane.
Everyone played so well. It was so intense and real, and everyone was playing their characters.
Yes.
Like, I didn't look at it being like, oh, this is, I'll say OC name, but like, this is IC name versus like talking to IC name about this, and it's like I was seeing really seeing the characters, right? And it was a fantastic moment, and there was basically this huge debate about Quinn and Travid's actions and what they'd done. All of the complexity of the argument, right? I'd also say what was really interesting around the crowd. I can't speak for everyone, but me personally, I was moving my position around during the conversation, which is really interesting, because it's like it's too easy to come into something and be like, this is the answer, okay? Like, and I will just stick to this. Well, it's not too easy. Hey, play the game you want to do. The way I did it was kind of like just enjoy bouncing around through this conversation and kind of getting to this point where I was just kind of like, hey, shit's pretty complicated. Like, Geller as ambassador is like, actually, I don't have an opinion on this. This is not what I've got enough to think about right now. This is some Fawn's business right here. Let's talk it out. Let the Inquisition decide, let the Senate decide, let the Fawns decide. Okay? Like, this is how it should be.
The other really important thing to add to all of this, even added spice, is that, like, the Quinn, who was the person who was, like, mainly accused of all of these kind of things, got cursed right before Fawns Council, which basically is like this. It's a mechanic and a thing in the game where you can curse a player, which is like to essentially blight them in some way with some foul sort of thing.
Did you see it? I've never seen a curse happen.
Yeah.
Like, did you see it?
I saw it, yeah.
What's it like?
It was, like, literally somebody walked up to him, like, announced pretty much, like, what it was, and just, that there was, like, I want to say it was, like, an instrument or something, like a bell or something, but, like, it was so shocking. It was one of those moments where it was like, who's this person who's walked onto the stage?
Like
a
Manchurian Candidate type assassination, right?
And it was like, and drops this, the whole of Fawn's Council, like, new players, experienced players, like, everyone in between was just stunned, because we knew how massive this moment was.
Did anyone draw a blade? Like, what happened?
That was the thing, we literally all froze, and then suddenly we all acted, because it was like, it was so crazy. And so that's how Fawn's Council basically kicks off. But that means that player is now under this RP magical effect, which makes him, I can't remember what exactly it was, but basically it tweaks your emotions in some way. So, like, he has to now...
I think it made him angry.
Yes.
Really, really angry.
And it's like, I don't actually know, but that sounds about right.
I think it is, yeah.
And so all of a sudden he has to add that into his performance for the rest of, the Fawn's Council, which is kicking off massively. And part of that was also, we want to get both people in here to answer for what it is. Get Travid down here. So we literally went and got the senator for Farunin and brought him to Fawn's Council to talk.
To answer.
Fuck me, it was so crazy. And, like, Travid is, like, a really good friend to Talis, right? Like, a really, really good friend. Like, Talis really likes Travid.
He's a massive confidant to Gellert, right? Like,
a huge character.
Yeah,
for
he's
Talis.
our neighbour. He's, like, part of the Black Scar, right?
Yeah. But I mean, this is a lot, right? That's the crazy thing.
I felt like What was weird was, and we'll talk about like the kind of the elections as well. In fact, maybe we should just go straight into some of this election
So part of this was that Quinn was the general of the Black Scar.
Yeah.
And obviously, his position had been very strong, I feel.
Well, yeah, he was up for election.
He was up for election.
Yeah.
And so his position, I think, had been very strong had that not happened. But that changed everything so massively that all of a sudden, all these other candidates could step in. And Caro had decided to go for it. And we just can't talk about it, but there was a lot of stuff that happened as well, like the game that was involved in everything.
I know very little,
here.
but like knowing, I have a tiny snapshot behind the window of what kind of and I would.
I'm not confident in any of the facts I know.
If you put me in front of a judge, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what happened. Yeah. Okay, there's a lot that went on, but I think Quinn had one of the hardest times I think you can have at Empire during that time, because like, Jesus, he'd made like a really bold decision.
Yes.
He then got cursed. Yes. Then had to go for an election, which he lost to Caro, which was like
by an incredibly small margin.
Such a small margin.
And it really was like a huge thing in the nation.
Yeah. Right? And then right afterwards, there was the election for the next army, which
Larkin won. Which was really, really cool.
Oh fuck! Larkin, Matty did my hair again. Yeah. I had plaits. I looked fucking dope. I felt amazing.
Yes. You look great.
Hair's getting longer. It's looking better. Yeah. Really appreciate it, Matty. Fucking awesome. But she won the other general seat. I just want to say, like, this is what I was going to say earlier. Holy fuck. I like everyone up there.
Yeah.
I think all of them, OC, are really nice people. Yeah. Every time interaction I have with them are great. I love RPing with them. They're all really good people. It was really hard to watch people who I all knew really cared about a thing go up there and be disappointed and win. Like, both things for me was like, I had really mixed feelings about it. It was so fucking glorious seeing Caro fucking bring home the bacon. He'd worked his ass off. He'd done all the military unit stuff. He'd become like the voice of the Fawns or whatever. Like, he'd really hustled and he deserved to get the position. And then it was like, everyone else up there was like really fucking awesome. And it's like, Jesus. And my fragile little heart can't take it, Ian. It can't take it.
Like, yeah, it was just great. It was just like, but like, I think all of what I loved about it was, it didn't feel like any of the decisions, I might be completely wrong here, but it honestly didn't feel like any of the decisions were worked out between 5 people in a place that I'll never see, having a conversation, and all the decisions had been decided and everything else was irrelevant. It didn't feel like that.
Hell yeah.
It felt like like literally...
The words said on that day changed things.
Won it, right? Like,
it was... And that's a combination of all of those things. Like, but like, it could have gone... We were talking, at first people were talking about placing a bet like a joke, right? Hey, there's an election, let's bet on it, right? Like good Navarri folk. Shit wasn't so fucking funny by the time that we were getting towards the final nail in the... Like, it was just so close and so intense and like, wow. Like, praise to the players involved.
Yeah.
Even the crowd were insane.
So good.
Like, they were awesome.
So good.
And like... Yeah, like I said, like, I'm moving around, I'm eating some chickpeas, I'm having a nice time, I'm talking to all sorts of different people. Shout out to Goldie, by the way, because effectively this session, this summit, the Liberty Pact had made some votes. This is all very public knowledge, by the way. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go seek out this information because it's all out there. But they had voted to embargo Yarm, so so basically Paul Goldie... He'd come so far, and would come so far, like, but it just didn't quite come off in the end, basically. And it's like, it was just like,
it was kind of like the end of the last sort of session, of the last event, was kind of like the end of Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, where it was kind of like it didn't quite come together.
No, actually, interestingly though, I didn't mention this in the pre-log, which I should have done. I don't think I did, but hey. We're not at war with Yarm.
Yes.
That's pretty fun.
Yes.
Like, so, like just to recap real fast while we're here, Yarn were like, hey, we really want to talk to you. If you don't talk to us, then we'll probably break all diplomatic ties with you, which probably means terrible things for us. So my job was to try and send off communication and try and get a neutrality bill passed. We failed to do that last summit, but I sent a Hail Mary at like 5:23, but just before timeout, managed to get this winged messenger away. And basically in the Winds of Fortune, it was like, oh, Yarm hasn't pulled the trigger yet.
Yeah, you got an extension, motherfucker.
But basically it's all like, it kind of has to be this time round. And also they mentioned stuff about my reputation. And this was really fun for me as a player to be like, Gellert Ashbourne doesn't give a fuck about his reputation. Okay? Like, yeah, it's a tool and it's something that can help you. But it's just like, if I haven't done my job, then like absolutely think worse of me, right? Like I'm trying here, you know? It's you know? Yeah. I don't know. Like,
I really like it.
Hey, I got on the front page of 2 newspapers as well, which is fucking incredible. I was on the front page of the Oathright and I was on the front page of the Inquiring Inkcap, and it was fucking mind-blowing to be like thrown into this. People talked about it.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's fucking cool.
Jeez.
But also, both papers had inaccuracies in their reporting, okay? And it was like, I talked to, especially the Oathright, there was some wording in there that I did not agree with. Yes. But when you speak to them, it's just like, I didn't apologise. Like, Gellert Ashbourne does not apologise for something that he didn't do, okay? Like, listen, this is, I did my part. Like, I'm not apologising for something I didn't do, okay? Yeah. So, but it being printed in the paper as an apology is great game. Yeah. Like, absolutely. Like, and the power that a paper has cannot be understated. We are sheep. We read information and are completely swayed by it. And if you're sitting there being like, nah, not me, it's just like, well, like, Cambridge Analytica would disagree with you, okay? Like, the power of this stuff is pretty good, but it's like I love it. I love the fact there's newspapers in game. I love the fact is like, obviously I was the front page, so it's fucking hilarious for me. Just as a person to be on the front page of 2 icy letters is so amazing.
The way they're written is actually really, really good as well. They're literally written like newspapers, right?
Yes.
And with, bear in mind, different newspapers have slightly different themes and styles.
Yeah.
Right? So there's like a certain authorship
there are quotes about me, like, from other people that I've never met, right? About what I did. And I'm like, who are these people? And why are they talking, like, you know what I mean? Like, I got quoted about Skywise Fowl. They did feature in the Oathright. They did feature my quote about like the end of days. Like, I fear there will be a war coming that is unlike any war that we've seen before, fought on continents and seas. Do you know what I mean? And it will lead to and all this stuff, right? And it will be like, they featured the whole quote, and it was just like such a fun way to end the article. I was like, at least they got like, I can complain about some of the wording and the quoting, but at least they got the fucking star of the fucking
the ending,
like I wanted to put across. So that was dope. The Inquiring NCAP obviously did a fantastic job with their very accurate reporting, having misspelled my name at least 5 times during the article.
Amazing,
just genius,
so really, good, really fun. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I'll talk briefly about like me not dying. Actually, no. Shall we finish your Thorns Council?
No, that is the end of Thorns Council. That is the end of Thorns Council.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's keep going. I'm going to get waffling on, let's just keep going.
Okay, so after that, basically, Thorns Council rolls into national training. Mm-hmm. I've really tried to sort of like, I think it's really kind of cool to just go and play with the new players and RP out a training. Like, I love the whole training montage of it, right? Like, it has that whole Mulan thing, but like in a really fun way, right? And kind of badass. Like, it's both Mulan and watching like Gladiator when people are like, when the military's doing all their training drills. It's both of those things at the same time, right? And it's so cool.
I love watching people gain confidence and like learn and like your skills in like LARP fighting.
Yeah.
Okay, don't get me wrong. There are some bad motherfuckers out there that will absolutely wreck your
By
shit.
the way, I'm going to talk about somebody at some point in this whole season who is like exactly like the dream. Like, it's so good.
But if you're like me, then you will when you're fighting someone and then you're like, oh, you're really good at this.
Yes.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because
or they make you go somewhere else.
Well, you have a really good time, but I'm this is embarrassing. Like, this is.
I think we can both agree this is a dramatic waste of our time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why don't we just agree you win and I'll go somewhere else? Like, yeah. But like, it's not helping my point. My point is, you do not need to have mad skills to take the battlefield. No. You can not have a clue what you're doing and go to the battlefield and have a really, really good time.
And honestly, speaking as like what I do, a lot of what I do, and I would say this maybe to anybody who's looking at one of these kind of military command positions. My honestly, my biggest advice is just get people to meet people. If you get people to meet people, people get known about and will recognise each other's faces. Just by going to national training,
like on a military level,
on a military level,
yeah,
right? And for culture of what you're like just getting people to meet people. The idea that I can introduce people to people that I know because I want them to be seen. So, for example,
Friends is OP, right?
Friends is OP, right? And I basically, for example, one of the things I wanted to do was bring Win, who is Paige's character, to the Navarchers to introduce them, just so they all know who the different people in my group are, so we can actually communicate.
It's
just that alone,
so strong. That's so strong.
But
like, yeah,
that actually will make a much more difference. I find to me as somebody essentially using resources. I find that so much more useful than one person's skill.
Why is Captain Long Tongue so effective?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's because like everyone recognises him. He wants to be like, everyone wants to be like near him and like rally round him, and he makes a better unit. Right? That's what you want. You want big personalities leading that shit. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
General Long Tongue and soon to be another. There is another Skywalker.
What?
Oh yes.
What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh. I got in when I went monstering. Did we have fun? But we'll get to that.
I'm still non-comming and it sucks balls. It doesn't. It's okay. It's fine. But yeah, Navarch's meeting.
So the other thing was, and bear in mind, this is asking a lot of other people's time. So I was really hoping that people would go to Forms Council, really hoping that people would go to the national training, and really hoping that then people would hang around and stay for the Navarcha social, essentially, which is literally
you were waiting until after the
it was
just hanging around,
just doing all the things.
Dude, that's a big ask.
It's a big ask, and everybody went there with me. It was so good, like the turnout I had, and just everyone's so lovely. Like I had the cupcakes and the mango as a bribe, but it was like I really honestly appreciate it. Like, and it was really cool. Just to be like, hi, this is who I am, let's introduce ourselves, all of that kind of stuff. Like, I honestly think that the power in that is huge. And just giving them a lowdown of what my understanding of the in-game information is, but not on that kind of massive standing level where you're one of hundreds of people listening.
But giving specific information.
Like, this is the stuff that is really relevant to us, which is essentially what you were doing with your team, right? You were dropping in those, these are the bullet points that we absolutely have to hit, right? But in a cool way. You're always saying to people, if you want to have fun, that if this is a thing that
you want to engage with. Have fun, if you don't have fun, don't.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying, but these are the things we can do. It's cool.
Yeah. Having requests for Navarcha aid on skirmishes.
This is crazy. So again, I'm getting people come round and ask because obviously we've started learning the times for skirmishes, what's required from those skirmishes, which kind of nations are mostly interested in those skirmishes, what the objectives are for those skirmishes. All of this information is something that you kind of have to be aware of. And I had some people come round and basically start asking from other nations and from within our own nation, saying can we get people going to this? I need people to go to this particular one. And a big one of those was people coming around asking about sort of support for the Varushkans. And there were basically a whole bunch of Varushkan objectives. I had a couple come round and just ask, which was cool. And it was cool to have them literally come and speak to me. One I know very well, right? But it was like the other one I do kind of know, but it was really cool. It was really cool to be like...
And you answered the call, right?
Yeah, and just be like, I'm going to get people on these. I'm going to go and talk to my people right now, and basically go around and get Silver, who's basically acting as essentially my... He's because basically I'm a 39-year-old man with certain levels of fitness, and I've got things that I have to do this event, and I'm going to be knackered. Mm-hmm. So realistically, I want to go to the battle and potentially one other skirmish, and then monster the next day. Right? I think that's what I physically can handle, right? So I was essentially, it's a lot to ask of somebody else to be like, are you okay trying to like rustle people together for these skirmishes and helping me with that? Because it's like, Silver's amazing, like, and just killed it, absolutely killed it. It was ridiculous. Like, I literally could not ask for better, and went around and hustled all of these things. But just having people come up to me and request troops was like really cool. I'd say it was a great game.
You're facilitating game at the end of the day. Like, what's nice about like Navarri is you very rarely have to ask for money, right? Like Varushka wants aid, then we'll fucking help, right?
Well, there's this kind of whole thing of like Navarre pays debts kind of things. Like is kind of supposed to be the spirit of it, or that's how I kind of feel it is. Like we do answer the call. That's the point. And we generally don't do it for like the reward that's necessarily required.
No, and it's also like I think like if people are treating Navarre badly, they're going to be much less likely to have aid. Whereas like, hey, Varushka's had a rough time.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on. Like there's so many parts. This is the other thing as well. I mean, you're playing a massive international game, but also nationally, like the Empire, the position it's in, like militarily, is. And even politically, it's really interesting. We're straining on a lot of borders.
I think this is always the way the Empire will be, but like, it's
interesting. Like, will we ever get a golden age of the Empire where there's like a year where it's just like massive prosperity? Is that even happening? Like, are we actually like in some ways the Empire is doing very well. In some ways, very specific ways. But for those players,
generous.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like
generous.
I feel for some, if you're in the upper crust, it's probably going very well.
We expanded and have now retracted, and now we are holding the retraction.
Yeah,
this is where we're at right now.
I know.
To be fair, there was that big move in the Winds of Fortune. I read out, so that's pretty good.
And don't forget Ossium as well.
Yeah, I mean,
we've had successes.
Yeah. It's not all bad.
It's not all bad. No.
I basically, as I mentioned earlier, my game is to try and get a neutrality bill passed that we will remain basically militarily neutral in any upcoming war between the Commonwealth, Yarm, and Lantia, I think it's pronounced. Mm-hmm. It's like this trying to drag this fucking thing up the field is difficult, right? So Senate wise, I spoke to a bunch of senators and they were all like, I'm down. I'm really, really down. So I was feeling really confident that given us an extension, which I felt was like a really good diplomatic thing to say like, hey, these people do not want to fight us if they're going to give us, if they're going to off a letter I wrote, if they're going to give us another summit to do this, then... Hey, that's a pretty big, display, right? It says a lot about the position. In my eyes, everything I say here, I'm trying to move around this carefully, but I could be full of shit. I probably am. So anyway, so there was a meeting between the cardinals of the 9, which are like the religious cardinals, at 9:00. But there was also the meeting of the ambassadors at 9:00, right?
Right.
So... I went off there and I sent Win off to the Cardinals, which was great because I was just like, Win's really capable, she's really briefed, get the fuck in there. I have nothing but faith in her abilities.
Yeah.
I don't know how to talk about the ambassadors meeting. I did a bad job, basically. I felt like I did a bad job.
Right.
It's a hard job. It's a hard ask for what I'm doing, okay? Like with the Liberty Pact... basically, Liberty Pact, anti-slavery, non-Liberty Pact are now becoming a Freedom Pact, I think they're calling themselves, are all slavers. Big ask for me to be like, hey, I want to do this thing. But I also think I really represented myself really badly. It was like, so there are, I think 6 ambassadors were there, something like that. I don't know how many there were. The Imperial Consul, and also a bunch of people in the room that I was watching.
In the gallery, right? Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm just like, I was hungry, I was dehydrated, I drank a couple of beers, and I was just not ready for any of that. Like, I was just totally out of my depth with dealing with a argumentative situation, which it shouldn't even be. I shouldn't even view it that way, but it felt that way at the time. But like, yeah, Wynn comes in, tells me the 9 are really down with your plan, so this is another thing, because I've been going around trying to get information to support my position, and it, like, I tried to give this across. I didn't do a very good job, and yeah, it just, like, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Also, there's a thing I want to talk about, which is like with trying to come up with correct wording is a big thing at Empire.
Yeah.
I am shit at this. Like, I am really bad. When people are like, what's the wording on the motion? What's the wording on the vote? All this stuff. I am absolute garbage at it. Like,
I honestly feel there's a dyslexic quality to it. So one of the things I have is when I'm trying to recall information, I see it in my mind like it was written down and I was being asked to read it out. And that's how my mind kind of creates the memory of that thing for me. So it's very much like I get really nervous having to stand there in front of you and read a piece of paper to you. Like, that actually genuinely is one of the most nerve-wracking things in my life. And that's kind of what my brain does when I'm having to recall facts. But unfortunately, that's a lot of being a human, and that's a lot of being somebody in a position at LARP.
Okay, I think though, like, I agree. This is hard for dyslexics, okay? But hey, dyslexics and other people that have learning disabilities, like, what do? We come up with fucking strategies and techniques to kind of overcome these things, right? Like, this is what 100%. We should do, right? So, me coming away from this meeting, I'm like, okay, hydrate, eat, don't party so much on Thursday night, okay? Like, be high energy for it is what I mean more than anything else.
What was really interesting was you came back to... Because at this point, I'd finished all of my stuff as well, and we kind of very quickly reconvened back at camp. And I knew it hadn't gone well for you. But what I really liked was you were kind of a bit bummed that it hadn't gone well, but you kind of, like, talked yourself, like, as Gellert, you kind of talked yourself into a position of... But there's still plays. I can still do things. I've still got actions, and I'm going to do it better next time.
But I think
you were very positive.
I'll just finish off some like I agree, by the way. But like, thank you. But I think it's like, so what I need to do is I need to get used to the idea of like, what motions do I actually want to get past, and just start writing them down, right? And just trying to understand them. I need to take a lot more counsel from people I know that are going to help me with stuff like this, right? And this is what's nice about my my little proxy group is like, there is a wide array of skill set there that can help me with this, and I need to use that more. And I did facilitate this. I was just more like, it was a big learning experience for me. I definitely got my emotion get the better of me. Like, I came across as a fucking loon when I was just kind of... I did terrible things, okay? I repeated my talking points because I thought that they were enough to basically win the argument within, like, air quotes, right? Like, I shouldn't do that. My job is to portray the information I have and to try and build some sort of rapport to try and at least see things on a common ground with my ambassadorial colleagues, right? Like, if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing my job properly. But hey, I've got a lot to learn. I've never been involved in a situation like
politics is actually very hard. Like, that is the reality.
Hey,
like, speaking,
PvP is very real. Okay, like you're out there, it's rough, people have different agendas to you, right? Like, it would be one thing if we were all in that room and being like, okay, we're all pulling in the same direction, okay? That would still be hard enough as it is. The fact we're pulling in opposite directions is incredibly difficult. So, and like I said, I've never been involved in this sort of situation before, and there are very experienced heads in that room. So, hey, I'm running it off as like a loss, a good learning experience. For the rest of the weekend, I had people coming up to me and offering me advice. You know you done fucked up if people are coming up to you and being like, I mean, there were some positives, but hey, here's some advice on
Yeah.
how I'll go forward in future.
I think that there is something to be said for the fact, like, Gellert really, really does. It's not just like a political agenda. It's like something that he actually cares about, right?
Yeah, but I also need to be careful of myself as Dave, right? Like,
Yeah.
I need to be very mindful. And in fact, like, I don't think this was relevant at the time, but I need to be much more comfortable in future of just basically being like, I'm going to lift my hand up if things aren't cool, and just be like, I need to stop or walk away, or be like, hey, I just want to clarify this with you, OC. I didn't do that stuff, and I need to remember that this is really important in these parts of the game. Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard. It's a hard skill, dude.
Hey, dude, like, we're all learning.
Yeah.
We're learning. But let's get to more positive things of drinking and having fun.
So basically, another thing I'd really wanted to organise, again, just getting cool people to meet cool people, was just I really wanted to try and put together a party and a social event between Embercast and the Entwined Paths. Because there's kind of been interactions between the two groups for a while. We were already friends with them, a bunch of them kind of IC and OC as well. But I was just like, look, we both obviously really like each other, let's do a social. And they really kindly offered to host, and we just had to end up putting this together pretty much on the day. Because, like, things were so crazy, right, with all of the meetings. So just kind of hustling around and getting people, and then having a whole bunch of the Entwined Paths go over to Embercast. Just, they told us, like, the history of their group, and we told them, like, some of the history of our group. Like, all I see, and then go into singing, like, around the fire with the group. Like, really cool, kind of just, like, fun, like, drinks, and just hanging out, and just, as I say, just people meeting people was really cool. Massive thanks to Embercast for hosting. It was such good fun. And I kind of started at that point kind of like as a joke, like at this point, because I was kind of discovering what, like, I was not yet prepared for the levels of where Talis was going to go. But like I started blowing bubbles.
What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Don't lie on this fucking podcast, you shyster bastard. I don't know where this bubble thing is going. I just bought 2 giant bubble makers and like a bunch of these mini little fucking... What are you talking about?
Yeah, alright.
Don't fucking lie. Don't lie to our listeners, you fucking bubble merchant.
Yeah.
You fucking purveyor of fucking foamy
I think I did actually
transparent
I had
balls.
like, basically I decided to turn my abundance of bubbles into like bubbles that I could just give away. So I ended up kind of just like through the course of all my RP during the course of this whole event, you just have to imagine that Talis has a bag, and this bag has bubbles in it. And he will offer you the slim form bubbles, or if you want to create bigger bubbles, he'll offer you the bigger, right? And just kind of going around, just occasionally, he'll just be like, you know, just like kind of engage people like, you want bubbles, and just go and give them bubbles. That was like a huge part of what evolved throughout the weekend.
I have no idea what PD would make of this. It's deeply entertaining. I think you should try and center this in some sort of ritual magic.
It's interesting. We'll get to. There's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of happens over the course of the weekend, which is quite fun.
This is cool, but for me, it needs an in-game hook. I hope that we'll learn about more about that as we go.
I'm hoping we could maybe do something with it, or just like I don't know. It's also quite funny that it's ridiculous, and actually that the game that gives, I think. Like, people were really nice and really kind about it and really welcoming about it.
I think the thing is, like there's a line. I don't think the bubbles cross it, but there is a line, and it's like you have to kind of like embed your game and your character within your nation and the actual lived experience of the world. But that doesn't mean that it's that restrictive. So it's pretty open within that. But like this is my opinion. But like I think there are.
I think it's interesting even between you and me. Like your view of the brief and my view of the brief, and like where we sit on how certain things stand. I think it's genuinely interesting. Mm-hmm. It's genuinely interesting, and it's like I'm aware that I'm pushing against the brief. That is the character, right? But for you, perhaps I've already passed the brief. It's interesting.
We can talk about that later on.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's I think it's, as any of this stuff, like, it's not meant for players to police in any way, shape, or form. It's PD's decision on anything. So I think that's like,
it's interesting.
We can all have opinions on it. At the end of the day, it's PD's game.
Yeah, I really hope people. Well, I got a lot of positive response to the bubbles, but hopefully everybody liked it, and obviously I had a great time. But so I started doing that, and then there was the idea of going on a Sinwig booze cruise, and well, I had a lot of meetings, and I was rather parched, so I decided I would. But the really amazing thing was, on the way to the first stop of the booze cruise, I was stopped by somebody needing people for a skirmish from the Navarches, and then on the road to the first place that we were going to, I was stopped again. And then after the second one, which all awesome RP interactions, by the way, I was like, oh, I've literally lost the guys in the darkness. I have no idea what the booze cruise is, so I'll head back, right? We end up, at the Dog End, right, later on. So I'm kind of just walking around. I've been hanging around all evening with like Embercast and stuff.
Questionably, dare I say it, not that a bar I've frequented that much, but potentially the best dive bar in Anvil, in Navarre, at least, I would say.
Oh, certainly in Navarre. Of what I have explored, and what of the quality of the game, that we get to, is very, very good.
Yes, exactly.
So basically,
they're solid players that run it.
Yeah, really amazing players, incredible. Like one of them literally wrote a song about the whole Seren vote for the City of Leaves, the City of Flowers, and the City of Dreams. Like literally wrote it at the event, performed it at the event, performed it when we all met up at the Dog End. Like that's one of them. Right,
talented people,
incredibly talented people. And then talking of very talented people, the Rusty Compass came along, and this was just as Sinwig had been there too. I think that maybe they arrived together. I can't fully remember. And Rusty Compass proceeded to do a full medley style, one performance rolling into the other, full kind of discography of Rusty Compass awesomeness, and it was incredible. Like with little, there was like a pipe player or like a recorder player or something. Like there was like breakdowns with the pipe and the recorder that happened like mid like Rusty Compass song, and then like it would all be like dancing and craziness. During the course of the medley, I was just blowing bubbles like crazy, and I ended up basically like just like dancing around like the Rusty Compass, blowing bubbles, and they were just like they were just going crazy. It was so good, like it was awesome fun.
I heard about your dancing.
Yeah,
a lot.
I heard a lot. So
people were very impressed.
I got like I got called into basically the sort of thing, like people like, you know, go tell us. So I just kind of like break out like a break dance like thing. I don't fucking know what I do.
I heard it was described as extreme dad dancing.
Yes, extreme dad dancing. Yeah, because I can't dance.
Like hopefully that will give you a visual image for what we're talking about here. But like think about,
I literally can't dance.
Think about your dad hid into the dance floor. He's had a couple of drinks. Bubbles have gone to his head, and
I danced the night away.
You did.
And then what was amazing about it was they did a thing where Sinwig stepped in and did like a verse of their song. And this is all riffing off a massive, insano medley discography. Awesome, right? I mean, this is like back to back to back to back to back Rusty Compass to back, right? And you're getting everything you want from Rusty Compass. Like, it's the best. Right, like real tight crowd, Rusty Compass just killing it, right? And then Sinwig comes in, like doing the lines. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Absolutely
Sinwig
crazy
is
game.
Part of our striding and steading. He's a banner, I should say, and he's my icy husband. And we'll talk about what happens to him.
Such a huge character, right?
Yeah, but he plays like an ex-Varushkin, so he has like the silly Eastern European accent. But yeah, they're awesome, aren't they? Like they're such a delight. The Rusty Compass. That sounds like a really good time. I'm genuinely jealous I wasn't there. Me and Keys, we hit the mean streets with a bunch of other people on a little booze cruise. Where did we go? I got pretty drunk. So I went around to a bunch of different places, had a few drinks, bumped into a mobile bar called the Wheelbarrow.
I was going to ask about this, yeah.
Which is like, I think it's the Wheelbarrow, or it might be the other one, because there are two.
What?
And they both have crazy pun names, and I think it's either them or the Bastards, Bard Stewards, whatever. They all have punch-ups and Anvil when they bump into each other.
Mate,
and it's like,
I
think it's them or the other bar. Like, this is all very sketchy because I was like having drinks and stuff. But like this idea of like roving bars and bards fighting each other in the streets of Anvil is so hilarious. Like, it's so funny and slapstick. And there's like. I
love that.
The bar I went to was just a real treat, and like you bump into them once because you're on a pub crawl, right? You bump into them once, have some drinks, head on into the night, and then you end up bumping into them again, and then you're like, you know, it's just
I had a good time last time.
Good times, right? Like, and you're just like, ended up in Wise Guys.
Where is Wise Guys? I've heard a lot about it. Actually,
that's a Dawn one, just off the Glory Square.
Oh no, I do not. Yeah, I've been there before.
Everyone goes there, right? They usually know what I'm talking about. Man, we were singing sea shanties and just having an awesome time. Yes. It was a big old fucking time. And just like thanks to the winter markers that are in there for a bloody good time. I even got to do a chorus of a verse of Roll the Chariot Along or whatever. I was like, a free drink at the bar wouldn't do us any harm. Like, and it's everyone's like, whoa, and then everyone kicks in. It's just, fuck, that's good times, basically. Yeah. But yeah, basically, that was kind of the end of our Friday nights, really. Party time, having a good time.
Yeah.
Saturday. Bring on Saturday.
Bring on Saturday. Oh, jeez. Gee Willikers.